one thing you would want to make sure you share with the audience that they could take home with them and say, hey, listen, I've invested some time consuming this content.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did because I got this. What is it that you'd give?
I usually give the same advice. And again, it's funny just looking back now as I'm doing these podcasts, my younger self, I'm like, man, that's just boring, terrible advice. But the two things is what you said something about earlier is one, to never quit. Mm-hmm. It sounds cliche, but I genuinely believe as you fail, you figure out another thing not to do, right? And I used to think success was like, every time I failed, I was like, man, if I hadn't failed, I would have gotten there faster. But you don't understand, you literally have to fail.
Yes.
And so the faster you fail, the sooner you'll get there, right?
Wholeheartedly agree.
And so that's number one. And then number two is just be willing to hire help or to, pay for help, because for me, that was my whole downfall. I was so prideful and I thought I was such hot shit that I didn't pay for something. And I look back and it made my life worse. It slowed me down. I probably could have skipped out on doing all the serving. I probably wouldn't have had to do door-to-door sales as long. I probably wouldn't have, not made money in the first 2 years of my business. I made $2,000 in 2 years. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's like, what, $75 a month? If that. And so if you can drop the ego and just be willing to learn, and then going back to I forgot the other point I was just going on. Shoot.
No worries. So when you look at giving nuggets of wisdom like this, and you're talking about the fact
perseverance,
that you're gonna push through regardless of what obstacles you face, etc. Getting the outcomes you desire requires you to do that. Yeah. And everyone needs to do an accounting of themselves. So you have to really determine what is the outcome you truly want.
Yeah.
And are you willing to sacrifice the current version of you in order to become the person?
And that's the thing too. And to end on that, you have to make the choice if you're actually willing to do what it takes. And again, I think a lot of what society says with the IG reels and the YouTube shorts and the Twitter posts, it's a lot of bullshit. Like they say, everyone says the right thing, but very few people do it. Exactly. And so when you're going through a 16, 18-hour day for 2 years, do you want to win bad enough that you'll keep going? And I look at myself, and I still, to this day, I still feel like, okay, maybe I'm not the smartest person ever, but I feel like I have a lot of natural abilities, and I was an engineer, so I have, let's say I'm smarter than the average person, or I can think through things a little better, and I almost quit. Mm-hmm. And so I go, you have to understand like what you're going up against, because the hardest thing in the world is to put 100% effort into something and get no outcome. Like, it's so hard.
Yes.
Because you like, girls want to go on dates, I'm like, I can't. Or like friends want to go out, I'm like, I can't. Or my parents would ask me to do something, I'm like, I don't have any money. Like I would barely have enough money to pay my bills, and then I'm working 8 extra hours a day and I'm making no sales. Mm-hmm. So I think, to your point, it's like people have to be willing to go through whatever it takes to get there, and very few people are. Like, if they don't see success right away, and that's part of why with coaching, right? Like in my programs, we're trying to get them results in the first 7 days, because we know human nature, most people will fail. But if you can be that person, you can go longer and harder than anyone else, unless you like genuinely have a mental disability where you cannot process information and make a better decision. You will get there. And and if you're less skilled, I just say, hey, maybe it'll take you longer. Maybe for me it was 2 years. For you, it will take 5. And I'm not saying that's fun, but I promise you, on the other side, it's so worth it. I've never met anyone who's like, man, I hit all my goals and I got to where I wanted, but man, it wasn't worth it. I wish I just played Netflix every day. Yeah. Like you're not going to say that.
Exactly.
You're going to be excited you did. So